Hello and welcome. This is FIDE Master and FIDE Trainer Vedant Kuswami. Today is 2nd of March 2023, and today we are going to see a very instructive game by the Russian Grandmaster Leonid Stein, who was one of the top players in the 1960s and wrote a very instructive book, Simple Chess, which I recommend that if you get an opportunity to surely read. It is one of the very instructive books, and the explanation is really lucid and simple and instructive. So here we see Stein as white playing against Laos Portish in interzonal tournament in Stockholm in 1962. So the game starts with e4, and it's a Sicilian defense, and f3, e6, the can variation, d4c into d4, knight into d4, a6, bishop d3, all regular stuff, and f6, and castles. Here, a lot of times I've seen a lot of students getting very excited at the prospect of attacking the knight with e5, only to find out that it is a trap, and white ends up losing the pawn to this check. Okay, so something to be careful about and be aware of. Castles, white castles, and queen c7. Now, since white has castled, that trick is no longer available, and e5 is a threat which can push the knight away from its perfect defensive position on f6. So white. So black plays queen c7, stopping e5, knight d2, knight c6, knight into c6, b into c6, and f4, showing some intentions of, a future kingside attack, if it possible, pushing the knight to f3. And let us see how the game goes. Black plays bishop c5, it's a check, king h1, and d6. Okay, so the basic idea of black's formation is that, he has developed the bishop outside of the pawn chain, and then will play e5, freeing up the other bishop also. But a slight disadvantage of moving this bishop outside of the pawn chain, that it is no longer a participant in the black's kingside defense. So it is out of that. So can be risky sometimes. So we'll see how that works. Knight f3 and e5. So both sides are playing according to their plan. White plays f into e5, d into e5, opening the f file, and nh4, a very interesting move with a very simple idea of taking the knight to f5, which is a brilliant attacking position for the knight. And if black decides to capture the knight, white will retake with the rook, and thereby getting the double bishop advantage, which is a long-term advantage. So no easy options for black here. Black castles and nf5. And usually I would say that keeping, now imagine, I keep giving this example that, for example, this is white side of the board, the first 4 ranks, and the other 4 ranks are the black side of the board. So if one of your opponent's pieces landed on your side of the board, it is probably in vicinity of a lot of your pieces, and it should be handled quite immediately. So in this case, the most prudent option would have been to simply chop off the knight and then continue the game. So now knight f5 is in black part of the board and has access to very critical squares. So it is a very dangerous piece, and black has to tread very carefully. Black could have captured, but he is not ready to give up his bishop, which is his good bishop yet. And white continues queen e2. Queen e2, of course, the idea is to complete development and, take out the bishop and develop the rooks also. Another idea associated with queen e2 is what actually happened in this game is bishop c4, trying to exchange a bishop. So let us say black plays a5, bishop c4, and you capture this, right? Now knight f6 is a permanent guest in black's position. It is a piece which cannot be challenged, and I think it will be very difficult for black to survive in this game because White's game plays naturally. I can, transfer the queen to the king side. I can do simple development. I can double the rooks on the f file. And, and the white game plays basically itself. So a lot of opportunities for white to attack the black king with the support of the knight, which is now unchallenged. Okay, and any movement like g6 is further weakening because now what happens, the dark squares around the king become very weak, and after nh6 and even bishop g5, it's a very dangerous situation. Okay, so nothing that can be recommended. So no easy option. So a very queen e2, and black did play a5 and bishop c4, a very nice positional move, because bishop on d3 was not achieving much, being obstructed by the pawn on d3. So white takes an opportunity to exchange it for the opponent's good bishop, which is e6. And like we analyzed a bit, if black goes ahead with white's plan, white will have a very comfortable and easy game with direct attack on the king side. Black played king h8 and bishop g5, completing development. And black plays nd7. And at this moment, of course, we have a lot of pieces on the king side. White has the bishop, knight, rook. The queen is ready to jump over. But still a very important move and hallmark of very strong players. The move rook a to d1, completing development. Getting the last piece into the game and then being ready to take solid action. Okay, it's a very important point in the game. And a key thing, a key point to remember if you really want to improve, bringing all your pieces into the game before you start taking some concrete action. Black played nb6 and now white is already, right? So white has all the pieces already in the game. Everything is developed, and black's king side is little compromised because white has too many pieces in the king side, and there are some direct opportunities of attack. But right now, black has created the threat of bishop into c4, and if white captures on bishop e6, the pawn captures back, and suddenly, though black has some weakness on e6, that is not the most important factor in the game, because the queen gets to defend the king side, and the most powerful piece on the board, which is the knight on f5, is kicked away. So this is something black would be very happy with if that happens. So Stein sees that, and using the numerical superiority of the white pieces on the king side, digs deep and find a very interesting, very beautiful move with knight into g7. And the idea is very simple. If the king takes, bishop f6 is a check, and the queen swings over to the king side, and it's a checkmate. So let us see bishop f6 and just queen h5, and the checkmate cannot be provided. So pretty simple concept. But the main idea is after bishop c4, now what happens if black chooses to capture the bishop and also threaten the queen? Stein follows up this knight into g7 with the most brilliant bishop f6, offering the queen for free. And let us discover the concept besides this. If the bishop takes, knight f5 is a discovered check. King has only one option, and knight 6 is a check. Knight h6 is a check. Very beautiful pattern worth remembering, and I'm sure it will be a useful uh, weapon in your attacking repertoire. A very beautiful attacking concept. So bishop f6, and of course, now black realized that of course the queen cannot be taken, and made a last attempt to defend. Bishop e7, and now Stein simply played queen f2 with the idea that now the queen can be replaced. So let us say bishop goes to f6, and there is no way to escape from the checkmate with the idea nf5 and everything, right? So a beautiful game, an amazing concept of attack on the king side, and some a game which is worth enjoying a few times. And so we'll conclude with this, and I thank you for watching. Do let me know in comments if you enjoyed the game, and if it was a learning experience for you. And I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you so much for watching.